Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. We have details tonight of a proposed class action lawsuit being filed against the company behind 6 long-term care homes in Ontario. Homes where outbreaks of COVID-19 have claimed dozens of lives. The lawsuit makes sweeping allegations about staffing shortages and a lack of protective gear for workers. Lauren Pelly brings us the exclusive story.
Mike McCarroll says his childhood home was always filled with music, thanks to his mother, Ruby.
She was a great lady, great person, very socially outgoing, very musical. It's at Anson Place, she would play, she had a keyboard there, not a piano, had a keyboard there and play, like, say, Christmas carols for the other residents. She loved that.
But now the Hagersville care home where Ruby spent her final years is a source of pain for her only son. His 95-year-old mother came down with a fever in March and died in hospital a few days later.
That's when I found out she tested positive for the virus. There's, I believe, 27 deaths now. It seems every day the number of people there passed away is getting higher and higher, and it's staggering.
McCarroll is now the lead plaintiff in a proposed class action lawsuit focusing on Responsive Group, the private provider that operates Anson Place and other facilities across the province, including Earls Court Village in London, Cooksville Care Centre in Mississauga, and Eatonville Care Centre, Vermont Square, and Hawthorne Place in Toronto.
Premier Ford described the situation occurring in long-term care and retirement homes as a wildfire. And the core of this claim is that this is a fire that should never have started.
The statement of claim provided to CBC News alleges staff members at Hawthorne Place in North York were told not to wear even a surgical mask as it would scare the residents. And that one resident who tested positive for COVID-19 was not isolated before getting the results, putting others in extreme peril. It also claims that management at Anson Place was offered a provincial SWAT team of hospital workers to help manage its outbreak, but refused the province's offer.
Anyone who makes that judgment call, I wonder why they're even in charge over at that home.
Responsive Group told us the company will be reviewing the statement of claim, saying it continues to work closely with the government and public health units. 2 of its homes, Eatonville and Hawthorne Place, are now getting extra help from the Canadian Armed Forces. McCarroll hopes the increased focus prevents more death.
We've had outbreaks in the past. We'll have outbreaks in the future. So it's about making sure this never happens again.
Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
As Lauren mentioned, the Canadian Armed Forces are now being brought in to help with staffing shortages at long-term care homes. The first members arrived today, preparing to help feed and care for residents in 5 locations. Angelina King has those details.
The reinforcements have arrived in Ontario. 250 Canadian Armed Forces members ready to help in the battle against COVID-19 in long-term care homes. Of the 626 facilities in Ontario, 131 are experiencing outbreaks. That's about 1 in 6. There have been a total of 573 deaths in nursing homes. Nearly 2,300 residents have tested positive for the virus, and more than 1,000 workers. One of the military's first deployments will be in Pickering.
Our first case was on April the 10th. We now have the biggest outbreak in all of Ontario.
Pickering's mayor has been asking for extra help at Orchard Villa, where 40 residents have died, 104 have tested positive for the virus, plus 59 workers.
It's a tragic outcome for our community. We welcome the added resources. We welcome the military here.
Orchard Villa is one of the 5 homes the military will be helping. The others are Eatonville and Etobicoke, where 37 residents have died, Altamont Care Centre in Scarborough, where 31 have died, plus 1 staff member. Hawthorne Place in North York has seen 9 deaths, and there's been 2 at Holland Christian Homes Grace Manor in Brampton. There are some homes that have higher numbers, but the province says
the staffing appears to be the main area of severe concern right now, and that is a major part of how we've determined to go with these 5 homes.
At Orchard Villa, the military is an additional help. On Wednesday, Lakeridge Health System took over managing the outbreak at the request of Durham Region's medical health officer.
They've made recommendations with respect to what needs to be done to continue to improve infection prevention and control.
At Eatonville today, families continuing to lift the spirits of their loved ones.
We like saying hi because we come here every day and it's so fun.
Bill Bennett is there every day and was hoping the military would bring some relief.
The people who work here are absolutely fantastic. We're blessed to have them.
The province says the armed forces will be on the ground and ready to work starting tomorrow, and that they may be redeployed to other long-term care homes depending on where the needs are. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, we told you last night about the number of restaurants warning they can't make rent this month. Well, tonight, some potential relief for them and other businesses. Ontario will partner with the federal government on a new commercial rent relief package.
We've reached agreements with all provinces and territories to lower rent by 75% for small businesses that have been strongly affected by COVID-19 for April, May, and June.
The new plan will help any business or charity that pays monthly rent under $50,000 a month. It works this way. Landlords would agree to give tenants a 75% reduction in rent and promise to not evict them. In exchange, those landlords would get access to a non-repayable loan to cover half the commercial rent payment. Ottawa and the provinces would pick up the cost of that forgivable loan. That leaves small business tenants owing just 1/4 their usual rental cost. The assistance would be retroactive to April and could be available by mid-May. A group of organizations has filed a legal notice against the city regarding the shelter system during COVID-19. One of the groups is Sanctuary Ministries. We told you about them last week, allowing people to stay in tents on their property. Now they've added porta potties. The group says physical distancing doesn't happen in shelters. The lawsuit to the Superior Court of Justice calls on the court to require 2 meters of distancing in shelters.
Given the context of COVID, given the directive of physically distancing being 2 meters apart, the city needs to make sure that there's a directive to shelters that happens. They haven't done that yet. And so people's lives are at risk, people's health is at risk.
The city has said it's moved more than 1,000 people from shelters into hotel rooms and other spaces with plans to move more. A meeting is set for Monday between the judge and lawyers to schedule a hearing date. And we're also hearing complaints tonight from workers at Pearson Airport saying they don't feel safe on the job. They are deemed essential workers, but many say their employers haven't acted on their requests for more on-the-job protection. Lisa Shing spoke with one woman whose colleague worked at a duty-free store and died from the virus.
For almost 20 years, Beata Betley and Monica Philippek did everything together.
We're in Canada. We don't have that much family, so she was almost like my family, like my sister.
That's why it came as such a shock when Betley heard her friend had died from COVID-19 last week. The last she knew, Philippek had a cough but was feeling better.
One of the family members called us and us Monica passed away. And me, I was like, which Monica? And he says, like, our Monica. And I was shocked.
The two met at Pearson, working at duty free, while Betley says she and her colleagues have the proper safety equipment. Others who work at Canada's largest airport say they don't. Video taken this week still shows people standing close together, despite some measures like tape being put on the ground to space them out.
You would think that this being what they call a travel-based disease, where it's spreading basically through travel, that the airport would have been the first point of protection, let's say. And it's still not happening.
Part of the problem, there are about 400 employers at Pearson representing thousands of workers. The union representing baggage handlers, check-in agents, and cabin cleaners says there's a lot of confusion over who's responsible for protecting them. For weeks, Anthony Modarelli has been calling on the Greater Toronto Airport Authority to have passengers line up outside before they check in. They've also asked for plexiglass to be installed at the counters.
We've been asking now for approximately a month and a half, and we're just being told it's coming, potentially. We're still talking about it.
The airport authority says check-ins are staggered and more counters are open to space people out, and it's working on other requests.
We just need to have strict measures in place to protect the health and safety all the workers, and that's all we're asking for.
Especially now that one of their own has died. He says it's more important than ever. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
We're going to take a short break right now, but before we do, we want to show you a special moment we captured today, a Toronto tribute to the victims of the Nova Scotia shootings. Andrea Boyd donned her kilt, grabbed her pipes, and stepped out onto her balcony this afternoon. She's from Antigonish, Nova Scotia. And here's some reaction from a neighbor and why Andrea chose that specific song.
It was incredible. It was like heartwarming and heart-moving, and Nova Scotia's in all our hearts right now, so I'm amazed and thrilled with what Andrea just did.
It was a tune that Emily Tuck, one of the victims, had been working on and had posted to the Ultimate Nova Scotia online Kaylee at the end of March. Her father had posted that. And yesterday I came across a video compilation on Facebook of friends and fiddlers from Nova Scotia who had taken that clip of Emily playing the tune and had made a compilation of almost 30 fiddlers playing along with her. And I thought, oh, that's a really nice tune, and it goes on the scale of the pipes, so I'll have a go and learn it and play it in tribute to Emily and to all the victims.
Time for a look at the all-important weekend forecast with meteorologist Colette Kennedy. And Colette, Saturday is looking great, and Sunday's actually looking better than we first thought it might.
Yeah, Mike, I'm very encouraged to see what's happening here when I look at our guidance and what might just happen with that system on Sunday, that it stays a little further south. And so that could make a pretty good weekend all around. But certainly, I have a lot of confidence in Saturday. But overnight tonight, we are looking at that temperature falling to about 2 degrees. Tomorrow afternoon, we will see some increase in cloudiness, but it's really going to be later in the day. So we're going to have sunshine through a good portion of the day, no question about it, and that's why that temperature goes up to 12 degrees. The changes for Sunday, it looks like that perhaps Sunday morning we get some showers, but mostly this next system just kind of wants to hug the north shore of Lake Ontario. Much of that rain stays over the lake then or to the south of the GTA. Now next week, midweek, it looks like another playmaker may come through and give us some significant rainfall, but that's not till about Wednesday. So here's how it looks. We get those clouds eroding, and that's why overnight tonight temperatures will fall down around 1-2 degrees around the GTA without that cloud cover. We'll get a little bit of radiation or cooling through here. And then Saturday, great sky conditions, and that's going to help with that temperature going up there to about 12 degrees into the afternoon. You see this next system trying to poke along and come further north. It tries to make that slide. I think we'll certainly see around Hamilton, Burlington area over towards St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, some of these showers developing overnight towards Sunday morning. But then see how it just wants to kind of skim through here. I mean, it's going to be a close call, but likely we'll have some showers early in the day, and then we might even get into some clearing for the second part of the day on Sunday, and that would help our temperatures maintain those double digits for afternoon highs. So looking forward to that. Now, in terms of what's going on now with the precipitation, I mean, yesterday some of the model runs wanted to be giving almost 30 millimeters here, and now look at what we're seeing. Yes, likely through the Niagara region, you're going to see some rainfall, but these have backed off quite a bit from where they were. Overnight tonight for southwestern Ontario, 2 degrees your overnight low with mostly cloudy conditions. Windsor, Leamington, you're looking at same temperature there. And then tomorrow afternoon, now those winds even in the morning hours will start to pick up a little bit from the east, but 14 degrees with also pleasant sky conditions there. And then a look at tonight through the GTA, a few areas where you get clearer skies earlier, we may see the temperature even a bit cooler, but otherwise check out tomorrow. And again, I'm bringing these clouds in maybe a little earlier than we'll see. I think we'll get much of that day in, and keep in mind that we're getting daylight from 6:20 in the morning till after 8 p.m. at night. I think much of that will be sunny. Into Sunday, there's the change. So now we're looking at about 12 degrees for the high, and check out these temperatures as we go into next week, Mike. That's also encouraging to see those readings staying there with those afternoon highs sticking in the double digits.
It certainly is. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
The weather update is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. Take advantage of special offers now. It's hard to stop a Trane.
Well, it's been more than a month since professional athletes were asked to wait on the sidelines while the world deals with this pandemic. It's left many fans restless, no longer having their favorite sports on as a distraction. And it's left league officials racking their brains trying to figure out a way to safely bring their sports back. Greg Ross has more.
For McCann, pass across, Hornqvist to Crosby, he scores!
With the future of professional sports still up in the air, people have been looking for other ways to fill the void.
And now they go, Olive away first, but a problem with Mabel's Bowl.
Like this BBC commentator who gave us play-by-play of feeding time for his dogs on social media.
How about I do a goal call for you?
Or the Leafs' in-house public address announcer doing personalized goal calls for fans.
Maple Leafs goal scored by CBC's Greg Ross.
While these things have provided a nice little distraction, they can never replace the real thing for fans.
It's really tough. You know, as a fan of this city, you love going to the events and all of that, and it just feels like a part of you is gone.
This is actually my favorite time of the year to watch sports, and it's just nothing there. So
we're missing our Leafs. Our Leafs have got to come back. It could have been their year.
On an NHL conference call with general managers today, Minnesota Wild GM Bill Guerin echoed those sentiments.
We all want to get back on the ice. We all want to get back playing games. And we will when it's safe to do so.
League officials have been looking at ways to safely return.
What the NHL is doing is it's looking at all of its different options for where it could put games without fans.
Hockey Night in Canada analyst Elliot Friedman says the NHL is considering picking a short list of cities to host games.
They're going and looking at all their NHL rinks and saying who could potentially host and could we finish the regular season and what kind of playoffs can we have?
Similar conversations have been happening in other sports like baseball.
They're looking at Arizona, they're looking at Florida.
Blue Jays broadcaster Mike Wilner says Major League Baseball is considering having teams play at their spring training facilities with no fans in the stands, but there's still plenty to work out before that could become a reality.
The worry for me is those bus trips, they're going to have to be overnight trips, there'll be hotels.
Even if they are able to work out the kinks and find a way to return, it's likely going to be months before the first games are played.
We've got to do it when everybody's going to be 100% safe. This is
Greg Ross, CBC News,
times,
Toronto.
But,
Well, there may be no sports happening at Scotiabank Arena, but there is activity taking place there. It's turned into a giant kitchen as MLSE prepares to make 10,000 meals a day for people in need.
We came in here the first day and there was nothing on the floor. It was kind of sad because this would normally be our playoff season and we would be, the crowd would be roaring and the place would be full. And, as we started setting this up, we looked at it and we said, you know what? This year we're going to be the playoff team.
That same arena floor where the Raptors won the championship is now one big food production line. The meals will mostly go to the city's most vulnerable, although through agencies and shelters. It'll run 5 days a week until June, delivering 500,000 meals from chili to jerk chicken. The operation involves almost 20 chefs and 50 staff and 9 kitchens so that physical distancing can be maintained. Now, in addition to the shelters and community agencies, the meals will also be delivered to hospitals during shift changes as a special thank you to our frontline healthcare workers. Well, these people need no introduction. This weekend's Stronger Together concert has a star-studded cast. We'll give you all the details about what to expect after the break. But first, this is a video released today by the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. It partnered up with the National Ballet of Canada, showing what it's like staying at home for them while still managing to do what they love. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Dozens of Canadian celebrities are taking part in an event this weekend that will pay tribute to the frontline workers fighting COVID-19. The Stronger Together concert will air on Sunday night on many different platforms, including right here on CBC. Deanna Sumanek Johnson is here with all its details.
Stronger Together brings together the who is who of Canadian performers and entertainers. Everybody from Justin Bieber to Serge Ibaka from The Raptors, Ryan Reynolds, Mike Myers, Sarah McLachlan, Celine Dion, just some of the big names that you can catch on this unique benefit for Canada's food banks. Now, what's also unique about Stronger Together is that it brought together Canada's broadcasters, CBC, CTV, the Chorus Networks, Rogers, and dozens of other smaller stations will all be carrying the broadcast and really trying to help out the food banks. Michael Bublé is one of the notable performers. Here's what he had to say about why it was important to put this distinctly Canadian initiative. Here's what he had to say.
Each of us on this conversation, this call, we have privilege. You know, we're lucky, and it's because, in many cases, of what our country's given us. And so I think it's our duty and our responsibility to do this. I don't think that you get a cookie for being good.
Michael Bublé there reflecting on his privilege both as a Canadian and as a celebrity. Now, of course, Stronger Together is not the only celebrity-led benefit during the coronavirus pandemic. Just last weekend, One World Together at Home managed to raise more than $127 million. Those were corporate donations. This benefit will be asking regular Canadians to donate small sums of money, $5, $10. But the producer of the broadcast also answered my question, and she said that they will make sure to let people know that if they cannot donate anything, to just enjoy the show, that they're well aware that people are financially strapped themselves, and that the event is, yes, about raising money for Food Banks Canada, but really about bringing Canadians together and injecting a bit of joy and entertainment into these difficult times. And people will be able to watch this unique entertainment event everywhere, including on CBC television at 6:30 Eastern on Sunday. That's 7 o'clock in Newfoundland. Deanna Sumanek Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
As Deanna just said, you can watch Stronger Together right here on CBC television, commercial-free, Sunday at 6:30. It's also going to be streamed live on the CBC Gem app, cbc.ca, and of course broadcast on CBC Radio. Well, that's our newscast for you tonight. Thank you for watching. There's more good music on CBC Radio tomorrow as Big City, Small World returns to the airwaves. Host Errol Nazareth is promising an hour of some great music. It's being broadcast right across Ontario. You can listen to that just after the 5 o'clock news tomorrow on CBC Radio 1. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday night at 11. Good night.